There are quite the conflicting opinions on how the PlayStation 5 aesthetically looks, whether or not you think it looks futuristic, whether or not you think it looks like a router, whether or not you think it looks like damn Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! There are a lot of opinions going around, but one objective fact about the PlayStation 5 from a hardware standpoint is that it's much larger than consoles we've seen in the past. It's physically a lot larger than a lot of people think. We'll talk a little bit about that because there's a pretty interesting design put out by a Redditor, a comparison image, and it showcases that, yeah, the PS5 is quite a bit bigger than other platforms, I should say. PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility is still something a lot of people are talking about. While we won't be getting PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility by the looks of it, PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility has to happen, and testing is still underway for over 4,000 games. And at the end of this video, I do want to talk about the upcoming game from Vanillaware making the transition over here to the West. That is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. That game looks fantastic from a visual standpoint. We'll talk that at the end of this video. Alright, the PlayStation 5, again, a lot of opinions regarding how it exactly looks, but one objective thing we can say is that it's much larger than previous platforms. Sony finally provided us with the first look at the PlayStation 5, revealing a unique, futuristic, contoured look. I don't know how people really feel about it. I feel like the overwhelming majority think negatively about the design. At the end of the day, as long as it's a design that works well and it keeps the console itself cool, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I hate the white design. I hate anything that is going to get dirty really, really quickly, and that's why I didn't buy a white car. It's just something that doesn't make a lot of sense, and I think it's going to get pretty nasty pretty quickly. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, if it can play the games and it can keep the console cool, I guess it's fine. But the console itself, as a handy comparison image created by Redditor GREBO7 points out, this console is much larger than other consoles. Even if you compare it to huge consoles like the PlayStation 3, the fat design console, it is way bigger than that. It is way bigger than the PS4 Pro. It is way bigger than the Xbox One. The Xbox Series X is wider than the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 5 definitely has more height when you do put it up vertically, and it is just a gigantic, gigantic console. Obviously, if you buy the disc version, it is going to be expanded a little bit because it does have to include the disc drive. If you buy the digital version, I should say, the width is going to be a little bit more limited. Nevertheless, this console is absolutely enormous. Maybe it's not bulky overall, but the actual height of the console is pretty noticeable, and it's going to be interesting to see how people manage to fit this into their game rooms, whether they want to have it up vertically, whether they want to have it up horizontally. That's probably going to be a decision ultimately for the consumer to decide. The fact that it can be sat up vertically, and they're actually promoting it as such, I find that rather interesting. Nevertheless, hopefully we get a price point soon, and it's good to just see the console. I'm not a big fan of the design. I thought the PlayStation 4 was a fine design console. I thought it just had a really simple, sleek look to it. This one goes a little bit over the top for my liking, but at the end of the day, if it can play the high quality games that I want to play, I'm not going to complain about that all too much, and as long as it's keeping the hardware itself cool, it's not the biggest deal in the world. What is a big deal, and it's absolutely a big deal, is backwards compatibility. I want full backwards compatibility on day one with PlayStation 4 titles. I doubt that's going to happen, and despite what you may have heard, backwards compatibility, as noted on Push Square, isn't as simple as flicking a switch and having all of your old games work on your new console. It's different for the PlayStation 5 versus other platforms that had backwards compatibility, like the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. If I recall correctly, the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3, the 3 in particular, had the guts of the PS2 inside the console, so literally, it could hardware backwards compatibility. That was no problem, but nowadays, you're doing a software style of backwards compatibility. That's how the Xbox One got backwards compatibility going with the Xbox 360. And that's why when we had hardware backwards compatibility with like the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 2, only a limited number of games actually were able to be played. But that goes for software as well. However, it's interesting to note, extensive testing needs to be carried out in order to ensure that current-gen software runs correctly on next-gen hardware, as noted on Push Square, and Sony is still in the process of setting up over 4,000 PS4 titles for use on PS5. The fact that they're still in testing, I don't know, dude. 5 months away from the PlayStation 5 release, are they really going to be able to get those 4,000 games ready for launch? Maybe they're going to work towards it, and over the course of a year or two, we'll get those 4,000 games going. 4,000 is a lot of games. But they noted to CNET, that's Jim Ryan, he said, quote, "We said that the PlayStation 5 has been designed to play PS4 games. We're going through the process with the publishers and developers, testing that rather exhaustive library of over 4,000 games. We're happy with that progress that's been made." I think backwards compatibility this generation is so interesting, and this is actually a point that not a lot of people are talking about, and I'll probably end up doing a full video on this, but the fact of the matter is, this is the first generation where a lot of people decided to move to digital gaming. People bought their games digitally. That wasn't really the case last generation, more so, and you can look up the statistics, you can look up the quarter reports that come out every quarter. Digital sales are getting more and more relevant, especially in this era we're living in, where we're living in our homes and we are quarantined. Some of you guys are now starting to go out. You guys get the idea. A lot of digital sales have been made. Well, it's different than last generation because now, let's say you're a PlayStation 4 owner, and statistically there are more PlayStation 4 owners than Xbox One owners, and you look into next generation. Both platforms are offering backwards compatibility, but you've already built up this significant digital library on the PlayStation 4. Well, that immediately is a big factor, and for a lot of people, that's probably going to make their decision right away on which console they want to buy. It's different than previous generations, where if you did have a PlayStation 2 or if you did have a PlayStation 3 going into the following generation, and let's say you wanted to get an Xbox One or you wanted to get a PlayStation 4, you want to jump over, well, in previous generations, most of you guys had physical hardware. You can sell that physical hardware. You can trade in that physical hardware. You can put that towards the down payment on the new console. That is not going to be the case this generation. You have built up that digital library. Are you sure, as a PlayStation owner right now or an Xbox One owner going into the following generation, are you ready to give up that previous generation worth of games, that library of games that you've built up just like that? It's gone. Unless you keep your console around and you want to shift between the next generation platform and the last generation platform, but I don't think a lot of people really want to do that. They want a box that can play all the games that they've already purchased. I think that is a big factor that not a lot of people are bringing up, and that inherently gives Sony a significant advantage over Xbox because statistically, factually, there are just more PlayStation 4s out there than Xbox Ones. We're talking about, what? Is it like 110 million to 46 million? Something like that. It is a big discrepancy between the two platforms, and if both platforms, all things equal, have backwards compatibility day one, well, you're talking about 110 million people that have already built up their libraries on the PlayStation 4. A significant portion of those have built it up via digital means, and they bought a lot of games digitally. Well, that is going to be a big influence into them actually picking up the PlayStation 5 and deciding on which console they want to pick up. I think that is a big element, and it is all contingent on Sony actually offering a quality form of backwards compatibility. If we go into launch and they hit us with, oh, only 50 games are going to be backwards compatible, even if it is the 50 most notable games, get the hell out of here. We need the majority, if not all, of the PlayStation 4 games backwards compatible with the PlayStation 5, because Microsoft is ahead of things software-wise. I imagine that they have a leg up on backwards compatibility. Hell, they offered 360 backwards compatibility on the Xbox One. I imagine 360 backwards compatibility is going to be a thing on the Series X. PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility, that still remains to be seen. I doubt that's going to happen. Nevertheless, with Sony's user base, they do have a significant heads up on that and a significant advantage there as well. Alright, lastly, I do want to talk a little bit about 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Yes, the game will be coming very soon. It'll be hitting the PS4 exclusively on September 8th. Vanillaware science fiction adventure game gets a Western release date, and it will be dropping soon. On September 8th, the game will be dropping in America and Europe, announced during IGN's Summer of Gaming 2020 livestream. The $59.99 physical edition will include an exclusive art book, while supplies last. Pre-orders for the digital edition will include a digital version of the art book. Due to the impact of the ongoing issues, Atlus's production schedules, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim will only include Japanese voiceovers at launch. A free English voiceover patch will be released sometime after launch. The game will support English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish subtitles. The description from Atlus notes, Vanillaware, the storytellers behind Odin Sphere and Dragon's Crown. Come on, you guys ain't doing yourself justice with Muramasa. The Demon's Blade, that game was fantastic. They've crafted a sci-fi mystery epic spanning 13 intertwining stories, uncover the truth, and delve into a 2D side-scrolling adventure featuring gorgeous art and environments, then battle the kaiju in fast-paced top-down combat, customize the Sentinels with an arsenal of mech suit weaponry, and fight to defend humanity. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than your typical Vanillaware title. I believe it's a combination of 2D side-scrolling, and then it actually transitions into more turn-based strategy-style gameplay from what I've heard, so that is going to be an interesting, different take on Vanillaware's gameplay, and it is top-down tactical combat, but the doomsday clock is ticking. Become a Sentinel pilot, customize your mech, and fight waves of kaiju. Along with the recognition of Japanese games industry leaders, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim has won numerous awards and been received pretty well over in Japan, and again, it will be dropping September 8th. But that's going to conclude this video. Again, as far as the size of the PlayStation 5, it is physically huge. PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility still a little bit in murky waters. Hopefully, they get that going good for a launch. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim launches September 8th in the West. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.